You're listening to the Multiverse Fan Cast, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
All right, then. On with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Multiverse Fan Cast. If you're listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and basically anywhere you can download podcasts, including your Alexa devices, which is still so creepy. You can also find us on our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you'll find content up the wazoo, and I really wanted to use that phrase today, so I'm so grateful. I am Paul. I'm one of your hosts, and with me today is, well, it's me and Rob today. Rob, how are you?
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Oh, right.
You're second chair tonight.
I'm the only person here in the room with you.
Well, the only person that they can see.
That they can see.
Wait, what?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming back and joining us. And I should add, too, that I tested out that whole Amazon, the whole thing, asking Alexa and asking Siri. And yes, when you ask to listen to one of the two podcasts, you have to say, you say, hi, Siri, that. And then you say, play the podcast, and then say the name of the podcast, and that brings it up.
Which is really cool. Speaking of which, Facebook has just announced that they are, I didn't even tell Rob this, I totally forgot. I found out this today at the time of recording, that Facebook is adding a new podcast feature. So we are already working on how to get approved for that. Nice. And Ronnie and I have been discussing that behind the scenes. So when that goes live on Facebook, we will let you guys know. And speaking of Facebook, you could find us on Facebook.
Damn.
No way. You can find us at the Multiverse Fan Cast or the Misfit Faction. Either are great sources for our content. Rob's been putting out articles on Loki, which we just started watching. We are going to talk about. We will give you a spoiler warning on that when that discussion starts. But I think that's it for the housekeeping.
Nice.
Yeah,
let's get into some good stuff.
So for those of you guys who don't know, we are continuing our Frank Miller, Neil Gaiman type...
It's Miller time.
It's Miller time. It is Miller time. But we are talking today, I'm going to tell you guys what we're talking about, then we're going to talk about some news and topics and where we're at. But we're going to be talking about The Spirit today, which is such a weird movie. Weird movie.
I am giving him no indication as to my feelings.
I'm really trying to feel Rob out on this one. He's not telling me anything, and I love it, but I hate it. So before we do that, we do have a little bit of just news and kind of the state of the podcast and what we're going to be doing, because obviously it is summertime. COVID restrictions are lifting. Like, everybody's really excited.
School's out.
We're excited to go back to the movies. I am super stoked. I know we originally planned on going to see Black Widow at your house, Rob.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I might go see it in theaters right after.
I think I might still see it at my house.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. But I think afterwards I'm going to go see it in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, God. Because, theaters...
I was initially hesitant, but yeah, it looks better and better every day.
Oh, yeah. So, we also have, like, for cinematic adventures, we have movies that are coming out that we want to review, like the new Fast and Furious, In the Heights, stuff like that. So...
It's just nice that the whole Hollywood machine is starting up again.
It is. And you know what? It's nice also having HBO Max, where I only have to pay $14 a month and I'm getting all these movies instead of paying $30 a month on Disney Plus. But anyway.
What? Is it that? Is Disney Plus?
No, Disney Plus for like the new movies. You have to have the premiere stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm sure I'll be shilling out $30 for Black Widow when it comes around.
We'll chip in. But anyway. So we have decided on some of the topics that we're going to be working on over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to list through a lot of them. We'll kind of give some thoughts on it and why we picked what we picked. Yes. So first up, next week, you have quite a treat for you, because I think it might be one of our most uncensored episodes of all time.
It might not be family friendly.
It probably will not be. So Apple Podcasts, we're sorry in advance.
We were talking earlier about some news that came out this week, where in the Harley Quinn show that plays on HBO, which is a very adult rated show, there is foul language, there is violence in there, and there are some sexual situations. And it came out this week that
I'm making rude hand gestures and trying to mess around.
He's distracting me. And it came out this week that the showrunners tried to have a scene between Harley Quinn and Batman where...
Between Batman and Catwoman.
Oh, Batman and Catwoman, sorry. Where Batman would be...
Performing.
Well, I thought she was performing.
No, he was supposed to perform on her.
No, wait a minute. I got it. All right, go ahead.
So Batman was supposed to perform oral on Catwoman, and Warner Brothers executives came back really fast and were like, no. And their reasoning was, and this is an actual quote, heroes don't do that. Now, most of us are adults in loving relationships. Heroes do that. But anyway, that's all we're going to say on that. But it did inspire us to think, what's a topic that we haven't done? What's a superhero concept that we haven't done? And obviously, it's not sexual encounters between superheroes, which would be hilarious.
Here's the actual quote.
Hey,
it says, like you were saying, heroes don't do that. And he came back with saying, are you saying heroes are just selfish lovers? And they said, no, it's that we sell consumer toys for heroes. It's hard to sell a toy if Batman is also going down on someone.
So that is a very old studio adage.
I get it.
I get it. Especially for children's heroes. Batman, unfortunately, even though Batman is one of the most violent superheroes of all time, he's a children's superhero. Yeah. Like, I still think of Shazam when he throws the Batman toy at Dr. Sivana going, "Get him, Batman!" Like, Batman is a recognizable feature of adults and children.
Right.
He's not like Superman or Captain America where they're very straight-laced. Like, the idea of, like, I think the closest thing we got to Superman having intercourse was Jay and Silent, or Mallrats.
Okay.
When they're having the discussion about whether or not Superman and Lois Lane could actually do
it. Which actually stems from an old essay called
Kryptonite Condoms?
No, it's Man of Steel, Woman of Tissue.
Yes.
Is the name of the essay.
So our next episode, we are going to do a full topical episode. I think it's our first topical episode in quite some time, because we've been doing character studies and then movies and the TV. But we are going to do a rated R superhero concept show. We're going to look at some of the characters that are great as rated R superheroes, some characters that need to be rated R, some characters that do well in PG-13 material,
but we'll do it in a tasteful way.
It will be tasteful. It's not going to be gratuitous for the sake of gratuity. But I think we touched base a little bit on it for our Venom episode, where we talked about characters that can't be PG-13. You look at characters like the Punisher, like Wolverine. You watch a movie like Logan, where he benefited from just more the violence aspect than the language or the sexual stuff.
So I have to rewatch Logan this week, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. But so right. We're going to do a topical episode on characters or movies that we would like to see in a more rated R setting. I know I threw out characters like Constantine, who is a very sexual character in the comics and a very violent character and vulgar. We have characters like Wolverine, like the Punisher that we mentioned. I'd love to see more DC characters. You know, I would see a rated R Green Arrow movie where he's actually like no boxing glove arrows, like real, like I mean, even Arrow kind of teetered the line at some points with how violent Oliver Queen is. So that's going to be our topical episode for next week. We will do maybe a fan feedback Friday.
Ooh.
Where we ask you guys who's a character that deserves a rated R storytelling. And of course we'll make fun of Watchmen.
Squirrel Girl.
Oh my.
R-rated Squirrel Girl movie?
No, that's a totally different thing. Don't look it up on YouTube or any other websites. But anyway, I think I downloaded the wrong movie. But we are going to follow the rated R superhero week with we are finally going to do
Lucifer.
We're going to primarily focus on the TV show, which is a huge departure from the source material. We'll touch base on it because obviously they are doing the Sandman Netflix show, which it was an inspiration for Lucifer and where Lucifer was introduced, and then it mainstreamed into DC Comics. But we thought that would be a nice segue, rated R superheroes into Lucifer. Then following that, we have Black Widow coming out, which we'll do if we have a time for a bonus episode, or maybe even in the episode we'll do a character retrospective, because talk about a character that's been in a ton of movies. Like, she has a long story. And I'm very curious to see if they're going to do her justice.
Which I should add, just today, first reviews, not necessarily reactions. That's the word couldn't come up with.
There it is.
First reactions from Black Widow came out, and they were all very, very positive.
I have a feeling it's going to be driven by her character, who is extremely popular, and I think a good supporting cast.
Yeah, they were already saying, what's her name? Pugh? P-U-G-H, the last name.
The girl who's playing the new Black Widow, basically?
Yeah, pretty much. They're saying that she's the standout.
I could see it. I really want to see David Harbour as Red Guardian. But
Florence Pugh. There we go.
There it is. So we will do a full episode, maybe even a bonus episode, because over the summer, Rob and I are going to have a little bit more time to have some fun with you guys and just annoy you, basically.
And that comes out on July 9th.
All right. So, and then we have Loki. We'll do our full review of it, like we did for Winter Soldier or Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision. And we'll also do a really quick review we've had
of Loki so far.
So this is
the Loki so far episode. Beginning.
The road so far. But so mild spoilers. We're not going to get too far into it, but we have 2 episodes of Loki that have aired. I believe there's 6.
There are 6.
So we're a third of the way done, and it feels like it just started. For more in-depth reviews, you can check out the Misfit Corner on themisfitfaction.com. Rob's been.
I'll have my new review up by Monday.
Most of our new content comes out on Mondays. The only exception is YouTube stuff typically comes out whenever Podbean decides it's ready to go.
Yay, Podbean.
So. Over the summer, we're going to do a little bit more with the YouTube stuff, and I think Wednesdays are going to be our YouTube day, just so I have a little bit of breathing room between editing. But mild spoilers for Loki. Nothing too crazy. Rob, we have 2 episodes in. A character that everybody loved. How are you feeling about Loki, the show so far?
All right. I when I wrote my first review, I gave the first episode 4 stars with a question mark, and I wrote, I think.
And I wanted to ask you about that, because I do read all your stuff. Like
I noticed. Thank you.
The first thing, the first thing I do is after I post it on Facebook, I immediately click the link and I read it,
I love that you assume my editing prowess is sharpened.
I lied. I actually read it first because usually whatever I put it, like if you look at our post this week for episode 2. I actually put in there, does it sink or swim? Did Rob like it?
Yeah, I did see
so,
that.
Because I try and make all of our posts very personal. And I spend a surprisingly.
You're a good promoter.
I try.
But yeah, I said I think, because I think I'm not sure yet. It could be fantastic, or it could be just middle of the road. I'm not sure yet because I don't see the whole picture yet. I think the same was with WandaVision, where WandaVision I really couldn't tell how good the quality was or where they were headed until I saw the whole thing, and then I got a better sense of it. Whereas Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was initially a lot higher, and then it kind of went down, I thought, by the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, initially, right away, for the first few episodes, I was like, wow, I'm so into this, and I felt like that last episode kind of like
it ended on a whimper.
Yeah. But with this one, I think I love it. I know I just watched the second episode, and I don't know I will say they're throwing so much at you in a
lot of exposition. A lot of exposition.
And there's so many things that go by so quickly that if you don't catch it, I have to watch it a couple times just to make sure I'm catching everything. And even then, I'm not catching it all. I have to look online at Easter eggs and things like that I didn't catch. Like this week, I'm sure you saw that there was a reveal for and here's a mild spoiler, for who this Loki variant is, and it's a female Loki.
And there are 2 potential characters who it could be.
Go ahead.
I don't want to say because I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to. Also, this is one of those shows where, I'll eat my pride and I'll say, when we first were talking about this, I was like, there's only one way it can end with Loki's death because he's not supposed. They resolved that in the very first episode, so I'm going to keep my judgments to myself on that one. But you know what I'll say? It's either Enchantress, who is a very famous Thor villain. She's been around for a long time. Or it's actually Lady Loki, because in the comic, and the strengthening of that is they did reveal that Loki is gender fluid. And if you know your Norse mythology, calm down. A lot of people jumped why does it have to be because Loki?
Why does it have to be girl Loki too? We're including everybody.
Loki in mythology. The giant wolf that Hulk beat the crap out of is his kid.
Yes.
So
that's
or something.
Oh god, it's gonna drive me crazy. Fenrir.
Fenrir. I'm thinking Harry Potter.
I know my Norse mythology, but I kind of agree with you, Rob. I'm not sure how I feel about it. There are things that I love about it.
I love Owen Wilson.
Melanie hates him just because she hates Owen Wilson.
Lauren does too.
But even watching the 2 of them have a great dynamic.
There's a neat, and I'm going to write about this in this week's review, that there's this episode in particular had very much of a procedural buddy cop feel to it. Especially with the opening scene of a crime, and then we're trying to figure it out as it goes along.
And the thing I love about Owen Wilson is he's just as smart, if not smarter than Loki. You have a real sense that Mobius has been around and doing this for a long time. And seeing somebody outsmart... Like, some of the best highlights of the Thor movies was when Thor was like, I outsmarted Loki. Yay. Like, what was it? When he puts the electric shock thing on him, and he's like, oh, brother, we go around and around. But he's so proud of himself when he hits the button.
Yeah. I love the scene in the first episode of Loki where... I forget what Loki says, and Mobius just goes, you're a big metaphor guy. I love that. It makes you sound really smart. And Loki goes, well, I am smart.
Yeah,
and Mobius just goes, yeah, you are. And it's a kind of a condescension in his voice there of like, I know you need to hear that you're smart, so I'm going to pat you. Like, it's clearly he's still the smarter one in that conversation.
And, for me, this show they've already said that it's going to impact the Marvel Universe in a big way.
And this episode seemed to show that.
It needs to, unfortunately. Like, it needs to. Like, as much as I love WandaVision, it suffers the same problem that Iron Man 2 did.
No bearing.
Not even. It's setup.
Yeah.
Setup. This is setup for watch our next thing. And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, unless they're going to say, we're doing a new Avengers movie where Sam Wilson's trying to reunite the Avengers.
Right.
Where are we at the end of it?
This one might actually be a pivotal changing point for the Marvel Universe, especially with the
Multiverse of Madness coming out and Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm excited, but also at the same time, it's same thing. I'm like, I need to see the whole thing.
Yeah, I think I will end up loving it. I love Tom Hiddleston. I think
he does carry the show, and Owen Wilson,
everything he does.
Good supporting cast. It's very small.
Yeah,
like you have characters with no names, like C-29 and
something 15
and so a lot of like code names and
Hunter 15. That's
Hunter 15, and also I'm still getting major Legends of Tomorrow vibes.
I know,
and I hate it because I love Legends of Tomorrow. But
for me, Legends of the Tomorrow is more like a Doctor Who kind of feel to it.
Yeah, but when they mentioned the word anachronisms, anachronism. There it is. Edit. But they mentioned it in Legends of Tomorrow. It's like a season-long plot point. So to hear it on Loki, I'm like,
I do like the whole like 1970s aesthetic to the whole place, where it's this kind of groovy hangout that really is kind of timeless, where they read jet ski magazines and drink outdated sodas.
I'm still really upset that they downplayed the importance of the Infinity Stones so bad.
Oh my god, when they're in the drawer.
Yeah, some of them
we're using them as paperweights.
The memes have been fantastic. Yeah. Like, we use them as paperweights, and you just see like Natasha, Thanos, and like Vision all like, oh, I died for those.
I do like that about the Marvel Universe, that every once in a while they'll take something that you thought was the most important thing in the world, and they'll just turn it on its head and show you really it wasn't that important to begin with.
Yeah, but like in all honesty, had Loki had the Tesseract when he went back in time, guess what? That thing's fully powered.
Yeah.
But it is established Marvel canon that the Infinity Stones only work in the universe that they are in. Screw Attack is a web series that does something called Death Battle. I don't know if you've ever seen Death Battles.
I have, yeah.
They did one, Thanos versus Darkseid.
That's not the claymation one, is it?
No, they do a lot of different. You're thinking Celebrity Death.
Yeah, okay.
And Somebody's Age was just no.
Oh my gosh,
I watched those.
I watched my MTV.
I know, right? But they did Darkseid versus Thanos, and spoiler alert, Darkseid comes out on top. And the reason was because Thanos' Infinity Stones don't work everywhere. Right. And that's established Marvel canon. I think Reed Richards had like his own Infinity Gauntlet in one universe, and like they all came into like different universes, and they're like snapping away and nothing's happening.
I will say one thing that I'm having trouble with this Loki, and this isn't a bad thing, is because it's the Loki from 2012. It's the very evil Loki, and it's not the Loki that we love from Ragnarok.
But if we show you this highlight reel...
Like, it's funny seeing him, because he went from, really evil guy to really, really good guy back to really evil guy.
He just stabbed Coulson 42 minutes ago.
I know. So yeah, it's interesting to see that dynamic.
And that's what I was afraid of. I was afraid that they would make him too good after just seeing his montage.
Yeah, he's still pretty evil, and I think that's neat because we're still guessing as to where he's going and where his.
But you know what? When that other female agent, the one that's like been busting his balls,
I think that's Hunter 15.
When she drops, he immediately goes to like.
He goes check.
There are still signs of Loki being a good-ish guy. I'm fine with anti-hero Loki, but at the same time, I hate Heroes was famous for, I don't know, did you watch Heroes?
I watched it, yeah.
Sylar becomes an anti-hero,
yeah.
and it really, It's done well at the end, but when they try it in the middle, it just doesn't. It falls so flat. 'Cause I'm like, he's bad. Like they're sometimes unfortunately, villains when they're well liked become anti-heroes. That's just Venom. Even Wolverine to a point. Like he became more heroic. I can't speak. As he became more popular. Yeah. But we'll leave that at Loki. Yeah. Following Loki, we are going to talk about Titans. They just released not only their first teaser, which included the Red Hood and Joker's crowbar scene. Very, very brief shots.
Jason Todd.
And I don't know if you guys have watched Titans. Jason Todd has been one of my personal favorites. I'm a big fan of the character, especially after he came back as Red Hood. And say what you will about Titans' writing structure and their writing direction, their costumes are on point. I mean, the Robin suit looked fantastic when they first revealed it. Starfire's getting her costume this season. Raven's getting hers. Hawk and Dove still look great. Nightwing looks great, and now Red Hood.
It's no Teen Titans Go.
I hate Teen Titans Go. I hate it passionately because I was such a big fan of Teen Titans. And then the last thing we're going to talk about before we take a break is Green Lantern. So we just did our full retro on Green Lantern. And by the way, great numbers. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support for its 10th anniversary. And ironically, right after, because I think we were a little ahead of the curve.
We were always a little ahead of the curve.
We have 2 pieces of Green Lantern, or 3 actually. 3 pieces of Green Lantern news that we want to share. Number 1, Zack Snyder did release the concept footage, the concept art of
Justice League.
I am so if you listen to our Snyder Cut episode, I was very.
I was very. You wanted that.
Well, I really enjoyed the Snyder Cut. I'll never watch it in its entirety again.
No.
But I respect the fact that A, it got done, and B,
same here, yeah.
Avengers would have been a 4-hour movie. Movies get cut down. Like, that's just the way that they work. Like, Titanic has an extended cut, and that had an intermission when I saw it in theaters. It's not an uncommon practice for movies to be shot 4, 5, 6 hours long, and I think we talked about this in the episode, and then get cut down. 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. I could see Zack Snyder's Justice League being a 3-hour movie. But unfortunately, what happened was they showed this concept art, and I think Green Lantern would have been as much as I love seeing Martian Manhunter.
Right. It didn't make sense as Martian Manhunter.
I'd rather they left his one scene with Lois Lane and then set him up for the next movie. And then have Green Lantern be like, hey, because it made more sense as to why Martian Manhunter, like, why would he be on the sidelines?
Yeah, I didn't like
but to have Green Lantern be like, hey, we just heard about this guy, Darkseid, who's coming here. Like, I'm here to help.
And there's clearly a Green Lantern monitoring this sector.
Yes, and it was Jon Stewart, and like that would have been, I think it would have been really cool. Second piece of news is John Diggle has made his return to the Arrowverse. I am not watching Batwoman. I will be honest. I stopped Batwoman after the Crisis on Infinite Earths because it wasn't my show. I am still watching Flash. I love Superman and Lois. I gave up on Supergirl, unfortunately, and Stargirl I really enjoy. But John Diggle has made his return. He's doing a 5-episode arc on all the shows. So they will... Excuse me, allergy season.
Cut that out in the post.
No, we won't. Enjoy my sneeze, everyone. Now I'm going to cut out the sneeze, and everybody's going to be like, what? But John Diggle's made his return. He will have an episode arc where they talk about him and him not taking the Green Lantern ring. So I'm excited to see that. But then the last piece of news is... Stargirl just released its Season 2 trailer. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Stargirl has been relegated to Earth 2 after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it deals with the Justice Society of America and their successors. Very comic-related. But they just revealed that Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern, who was more of a magical Green Lantern as opposed to a traditional Green Lantern, who was also an openly gay character, had a daughter. Now, as long as they have to be careful how they write it, but I think it can be done in some respects. They just have to do it tastefully.
Is Berlanti involved in it?
Yes.
Okay, then he'll do it right. He always does.
Yeah, like the CW shows, for as much flack as sometimes we give them, especially Supergirl, which kind of took their agenda and was like, here's our agenda. And we're like, no, we want Supergirl beat the crap out of people. Like, we like that. They always really were good with inclusion of characters. Whether they're black, gay, straight, white, blue, whatever it is, green, Martian Manhunter, they always did a really good job not only including those characters, but also giving reason for them being there and justification and great storylines. Martian Manhunter on Supergirl has always been really good. I think to the point where they even made John Jones play a black character in the traditional comics. So that was I think that started on Smallville, and sometimes it's just about casting the right actor. Especially for a shapeshifter. Like, who cares? Nobody does. But I'm really excited. There's a lot of cool Green Lantern stuff. And obviously Green Lantern Corps, the show is coming out
you said
soon.
it right.
I did. I really worked hard on that one.
He usually says Green Lantern Corpse.
I don't know what it is. It's the silent S.
So I send him pictures of dead Green Lanterns whenever he says that.
Let's call that Black Lanterns, all right? In Darkest Night storyline. But I think that's going to wrap us up on news. We're going to take a quick break. You got more.
No, just one quick thing. We did not forget that there was a request for a character study done for Robin, and we will be working on that as we get closer to Titans.
I think that would be a fantastic idea.
There was one of our intrepid fans out there made a suggestion to me to say that.
And I think for something like that, we won't just talk about Dick Grayson. We will talk about, I think,
Jason Todd,
Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, who is getting introduced to Titans, Carrie Kelly. And we can talk a little bit about Stephanie Brown, but I'm not too familiar with her.
I'm going to have to do my homework.
There have been a lot of Robins, and
yes, we'll work on that this summer.
I can't wait to talk about all the undertones. But anyway, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about 2008's The Spirits.
Woohoo.
But first, a quick break. Today's episode is brought to you by Ray's Energy Drinks from Rep Sports. Whether you're trying to crush your afternoon workout or just need a little extra pick-me-up, Ray's Energy is just the boost that you're going to need. So if you go to repsports.com and any product that you order, enter the code MISFIT89 at checkout to receive 15% off. Anything that you guys buy from that store helps our network grow, and we fully appreciate everything you guys do. That's MISFIT89 at checkout, repsports.com. All right, we are back, and we are discussing this. This movie is so weird.
All right, now I'll start off by saying that at this point, Paul and I have not shared our opinions at all about this. In fact, this movie was my suggestion because I saw
it was on our list.
Well, that's true. It was on the list, and then I saw Frank Miller. I'm like, well, let's put a bunch of Frank Miller together, and then we'll do like a Frank Miller study. And I knew nothing about this movie other than it came out in 2008. It has sort of a Sin City kind of like feel to it with the visuals. And I know it came out on Christmas, and I know it bombed.
And I know that I saw it in theaters.
And that's all I know about it. So I didn't watch it for the first time until just about 5 or 6 days ago. So he knows nothing of what I'm about to say.
All right, so let's do a little background on it first, and then we will discuss it. So this is one of I think it's the first and only Frank Miller directed movies.
First and last.
Yes, Frank Miller directed this himself. He was very passionate about getting it done. It's based on the comic strip, The Spirit by Will Eisner.
Yeah, Will Eisner was a huge influence in Frank Miller's life. I watched so many documentaries this week on Frank Miller and Will Eisner because Will Eisner was always a huge influence in his life, and he grew up reading Will Eisner, and he met and was mentored by Will Eisner for many, many years, and they became very, very good friends for a while, and he really wanted to do something to pay homage to Will Eisner's life, and so that's why he directed this movie, because I believe it came out 3 years after Will Eisner died?
Around that time, yeah. Now, The Spirit himself, the actual comic, was started in the 1960s, and The Spirit was a very atypical neo-noir type character, very much in the vein of characters like Dick Tracy, The Phantom, and then later on characters like The Question, where he didn't have
The Shadow.
The Shadows. What We Do in the Shadows.
Just one.
No, The Shadow, which is another movie one day we will do too.
The Shadow? Oh yeah.
I guess with Adam Baldwin.
Yeah. Alec,
excuse me.
Yeah,
and then Billy Zane.
That'll show me my age. I saw that one in the theaters.
And then Billy Zane as the Phantom. Yeah. But The Spirit was one of those detective-type characters.
But it was really Ben Affleck who was the bomb in Phantoms.
He was the bomb in Phantoms, yo. Phantoms like a word I can't say on this family-friendly podcast. But,
sorry. Continue.
So The Spirit was one of those characters that he was a detective. They rarely talked about his secret identity, quote unquote, or who he was. And he was just, I'm going to beat people up. He did do crossovers with characters like Batman. He eventually did in the 1990s. He a little bit more popular ironically after the movie, but Brad Bird wanted to do an animated film about him.
Yes.
So he was a C-list character, but he was never like a super unpopular character. Back when newspaper strips were very popular, he was up there. It sucks that this is the movie that we're going to remember him for, and most mainstream audiences are too. So, like we said, the movie came out in 2008, December 25th, 2008 to be specific, 103 minutes long, and had a budget of $60 million, and it made 39. That's rough. This movie has one of the best casts you'll ever see. Like
Sam Jackson.
So I'm gonna list it through. We have Gabriel Macht.
I know nothing about him.
He was very big on Suits. Suits was his big role, and
I know nothing about.
He does have my favorite line in the entire movie when he's walking out of the infirmary and he's like, "Somebody get me a tie," and it sure as hell better be red. I was like, he's trying so hard to save this movie.
I still haven't said my opinion on this movie.
That's fine. That's fine. But The Spirit was one of his only movies. Like Suits is his real big claim to fame. We had Johnny Simmons playing a young Denny Colt. Johnny Simmons,
from Scott Pilgrim, right?
Scott Pilgrim,
yes,
The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Jennifer's Body. Like he's an actor who I enjoy whenever he's on because he can do like the young Neil from Scott Pilgrim.
Young Neil.
Or he can do he's in 21 Jump Street for like a cameo, and like Jennifer's Body, he's great as Chip. But I enjoy him. Then we have let's see, going down the list, Sam Jackson. I've never heard of this actor.
He's new on the scene.
Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson as the octopus, who hams it up to nobody's surprise. Like he really gives his all to this movie.
I would be hard pressed to find a film that he doesn't ham it up more than in this. There was a Roger Ebert in his review for this film said that he compared him to this famous ambassador who attributed his success in life in that every time he sat down to eat, he would chew each bite 32 times.
Oh, yeah, like Danny Tanner does that too.
I believe Sam Jackson is doing that with every scene that he's in.
Every time. But he makes this movie fun. Like his outfits and his grand...
Fun? Is that a word we want to use here?
Whenever he's on screen, it's always entertaining to a point. You have Scarlett Johansson.
I can't look away, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that much. You have Scarlett Johansson. Speaking of can't looking away, this movie has some of the most beautiful women of Hollywood. Mm-hmm. You have Scarlett Johansson as Silken Floss.
Silken Floss.
Yes.
Both those names.
Yeah. The right-hand woman to the octopus, kind of the straight man to his crazy man. You have Eva Mendes as Sans Serif, and oh my Lanta.
I've learned that she's married to Ryan Gosling.
Is she really?
I know.
Stand by.
He's got to look this up to confirm this.
She's been in a relationship with Ryan Gosling since 2011. They have 2 daughters. Good for him.
In fact, that's why you don't see her anymore, because she took time off to raise her kids.
But they're just dating. With 2 kids, you might as well be married. Oh my!
I think at this point she's probably common law wife as far as the law is concerned.
Yeah. First time I ever saw Eva Mendes.
Yeah.
Will Smith's Miami video. She plays one of the girls in the car.
She I have to say, yeah, wow, she is really one of the most beautiful people I've ever seen.
And in this movie too,
yeah.
When she's like, "Oh, my towel," we're all like, "Turn the camera down." Not that I would ever objectify anyone. No. But you have and she's played by a young Seychelle Gabrielle, who I do enjoy. She was on the show Falling Skies. I really enjoy her as an actress. Mm-hmm. She's got a good future ahead of her. You have Sarah Paulson before she got like really big with American Horror Story and stuff like that as the only one with a normal name, Ellen Dolan, the police commissioner's daughter, and
then you have a lot of.
She's a surgeon, an ME. Right. Like they don't really. She works in the hospital. You have Dan Lauria from The Wonder Years
as Dan Lauria.
Commissioner
so
Dolan. I'm going to mess up some of these names. Stana Katic as Morgenstern, a spunky rookie police officer. Her uniform is not regulation under any circumstances, and neither is that giant cannon she has at the end.
And don't forget Louis Lombardi.
As Phobos, Logos, Pathos, Ethos, Bulbos, Huevos, and Rancheros, Mangos, Adios, and Amigos. I was doing so well.
There's one point that says dildos on his shirt.
Probably. But the clone henchman, which I thought was a funny trope, but he got old quick in this movie. Jamie King as Lorelei Rox,
Death, pretty
as
much.
the Angel of Death. Paz Vega as the Plaster of Paris. And
it goes on and on and on.
Yeah, that's pretty much the cast, though.
All
right. We're going to talk about some things we like about this movie. We're going to talk about how bad this movie is, because I can tell enough, knowing Rob for so many years, that I could tell he is holding back his utter disdain for this movie.
It's way more complex than that.
Oh, it's way more complex.
Have you ever heard of a film called The Day the Clown Cried?
I've heard of it. I have never seen it.
No one has.
Well, that was just mean. You set me up for
Have
failure.
you ever heard of it?
I said I've heard of it.
What do you know about it? Yeah.
It's a very sad movie about this poor clown. I know nothing about it. I'll be honest.
It stars Jerry Lewis.
Okay.
And
is it about the Pavarotti or
no?
Okay. Oh.
It's a 1972 film by Jerry Lewis
that I'm definitely not looking up right now.
Starring Jerry Lewis, who plays
it's Swedish.
He plays a clown whose job is to lead children to the gas chamber during Nazi Germany.
Oh my God, I have heard of this movie.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So he finished the film, and upon finishing the film, he realized what he had done, and he promised never to show it ever. He showed it to a few people, one of which was Harry Shearer. This is Harry Shearer's quote, and I think this pretty much embodies my feelings for the spirit. He says, "With most of these kinds of things, you find that the anticipation or the concept is better than the thing itself. But seeing this film was really awe-inspiring in that you are rarely in the presence of a perfect object. This was a perfect object. This movie is so drastically wrong. Its pathos and its comedy are so wildly misplaced that you could not, in your fantasy of what it might be like, improve upon what it really is. Oh my God, that's all you can say."
That's a savage review.
That is exactly
that is a rough
how
review.
I feel about this movie. First of all, I can't believe I haven't seen it up until this point. I feel as if my life has been empty until I've seen it. Finally, I feel like I'm complete. I was so shocked by this movie. I watched it twice this week.
Wow.
I watched it first on its own, just with my mouth on the floor. The second time I watched it with this director commentary on, because I'm like, he needs to explain himself with this. So I listened to Frank Miller and the producer, I forget her name off the top of my head, do the commentary, because I wanted to know what the actual hell is he thinking with this. It is so all over the place. It is so tonally dissonant that I can understand why Roger Ebert said this was one of his most loathed movies, but I also don't understand how this film has not become a midnight cult hit.
All right, so fun fact, it is a cult hit.
Okay.
While I was doing research on this and doing posts about it today, I did a little research on Facebook especially. It has 70,000 fans on Facebook.
Wow.
And there are a lot of people that are like, this is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. The Spirit is a perfect example of the transition of comic book movies. It is 2008, so this is after Batman Begins, right? So
right.
A lot of people say that The Dark Knight and Iron Man, because they came out, people forget that they came out the same year, like 2 months apart. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen it, they do a great bit at one of the MTV Movie Awards where Robert Downey Jr., and this is right after it, he's reading like a news article about how great Iron Man did, and a kid goes, "Yeah, it's pretty good," until Dark Knight comes out. Christian Bale kick your ass. And it's really funny, but people tend to forget that year was Iron Man, The Dark Knight, and The Incredible Hulk. The start of the MCU, and arguably, and I think Rob and I can both agree with this, one of the best comic book movies, and definitely top 5 of DC movies ever. So you're in this renaissance now that's just starting, and 2008 drops this, And this is the transition. I like to, when people ask me about this movie, I always say this is when we were at the X-Men level of goofiness, because the first X-Men movie is not a masterpiece. It is a very water wings on kind of movie where they played it safe as much as they could. No colorful costumes, no code names. You know, they mentioned the code names for like half a second and then they never addressed it again. He was allowed to say bub one time. You know, this was that time where they weren't sure if, you know, you got your Fantastic Four and your Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Right, we're
and
a couple years after that.
So you're in this transition period where even Iron Man is a more serious, they picked their tone a little bit better. The problem with the Spirit was they took a lot from different comic book movies, put it all together in a blender, and was like, Frank Miller directing.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. In listening to the commentary, I really believe that Frank Miller made the movie he wanted to make. That this is absolutely, like, he looks at this and he's like, I nailed it. And
he was Zack Snyder before Zack Snyder. I'll say it. I will say it. And as much as I love Zack Snyder and I will defend him, this is
like, here's the thing that I got from the commentary from listening to him. And not only did I watch the commentary, but I watched every special that's on this Blu-ray.
Oh my God, you're my hero.
There was one just about Frank Miller. There was one about Will Eisner about Frank. I became obsessed this week with The Spirit because I couldn't believe something like this could exist. And Frank Miller, like, it reminded me of the quote from Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park when he says, something about, like, you always thought about what you could do, but you never thought about whether you should do it.
Yep.
And that was really what I thought about this movie, was that he kept coming up with all these ideas, but never thought, is this a good idea? Like, I'll give you an example. The Logos, the Pathos, all those guys. That was just an idea. He said in the commentary about how we had all of these sort of henchmen in the background, and they were sort of these non-distinct kind of bland henchmen, and we thought, why not just make them one person that just gets cloned over and over again?
Which is a great idea, but this movie also has 17 different genres in it.
Which I get, because he talks about, and I looked at Will Eisner's stuff from the Spirit, and it is kind of a genre mashup at times. First of all, I should say, if you're looking for old Will Eisner stuff, good luck finding it. So much of it has been canceled. One of the main reasons is because the Spirit used to have a sidekick
who was a very bad black stereotype. The big lips, the very old school animation style.
It looked very much like Al Jolson in when Al Jolson used to wear his a blackface.
Yeah.
And it's horribly offensive. So that's why you don't find a lot of Will Eisner stuff, put together into compendiums and stuff like that. You can find a lot of reboots of the Spirit.
Fun fact: the name of the character is Ebony White.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh.
But That was a very old-fashioned trope. I hate to hear that it was in the 1960s for this, because that's when The Spirit came out. Like, you have Disney properties like Song of the South, or what's another good? Looney Tunes had a lot of blackface type characters. More recent, I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan. I love me some Dragon Ball Z. They have a character in there named Mr. Popo, who is a genie, and he's a black-skinned genie.
Okay.
Which was it's more in keeping of the traditional Middle Eastern type genies, but everybody's like, well, he's blackface, and they're like, no, we did our research, he's a genie, like that's what
right.
So, but they had to defend it. Pokemon, Rob and I both enjoy some Pokemon. We play Pokemon Go. We've done raids together. We're best friends on Pokemon Go. Not so much in real life, but no.
There's a couple Pokemon.
Jinx. Jinx got completely redesigned. If you look at the original design for Jinx, she had black skin and big Nicki Minaj looking lips.
Yes, there's another one too.
A lot of Pokemon got redesigned because people thought that they were racial stereotypes, and unfortunately,
Ludicolo.
Yeah, Ludicolo.
Ludicolo. What's the original two of those? That's the evolved form. I forget.
I can see it. No, that's shift rate. Lotad, Lombre, and Ludicolo.
Like, those are some pretty racist Mexican stereotypes. I like when I saw it on my screen, I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
how are they getting away with this?
Oh yeah, Pokemon got away with a lot, and like growing up with the Pokemon like phase,
Yeah.
it's like there were Nazi accusations, there was plagiarism accusations,
Speaking of Nazis,
Speaking of Nazis, segue, you love it. There is a whole Nazi scene in this movie that just does not need to be there.
Hell.
Like I feel like Scarlett Johansson's agent called her on that day and was like, maybe no.
I gotta give it to Scarlett Johansson that I think she's actually the funniest one in this film
because she plays it straight.
She plays it totally straight, completely looking straight ahead while Sam Jackson is doing all this craziness, and she comes in the phone and it's for you, sir. Like, she has great comic timing in this film.
Yeah, and it's not till Jojo Rabbit that
oh my gosh,
then it's okay.
Devastating.
Yeah,
I had the pleasure of being in the same room as Scarlett Johansson. I saw her on stage on Broadway in an Arthur Miller play, and she was really amazing.
First movie I ever saw Scarlett Johansson in? Home Alone 3. She plays the older sister of the main character.
I think the first time I saw her was in Ghost World.
Oh, solid callback. But this movie is so unique, and it's fun because like with the severe lack of comic content, we've gotten a chance to really look back at some older stuff, and this movie had every indication that it should have been legendary. It was right off the heels of like movies like Sin City, and we just did our Sin City and Sin City: A Dame to Kill For retro reviews. We did our 300 retro review, both of which got great numbers. I was really surprised with how much people enjoyed hearing some older stuff, especially 300. But also that's because Zack Snyder, he's at his renaissance right now, which is such a testament.
Everyone likes an underdog.
Easy. But, it's funny. Rob and I will both agree on this, and we even did in the beginning of the episode. It's so fun. It's nice to see character creators kind of get their not comeuppance. That's a terrible word for it, but like finally get their due. Like
their due, yeah.
Zack Snyder's, say what you will about his filmmaking style, but he, we both enjoyed 300. I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
We have moments of Watchmen that we really like, but like the show better.
Yes.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, we sat in the same room and watched it, whole thing. And, even Rob will say, like, there are parts of it that he enjoyed. There are parts of it that I enjoyed. I enjoyed more of it than he did. But, like, for Zack Snyder, he's an acquired taste. You either love him or you don't. You can't stand him. But, like, this was that time where it was a very stylized comic book movies where they weren't sure, why don't we just take the comic book and make it a movie? And not just DC. You had Ang Lee's Hulk around the same time, where they structured it like a comic book with the transitions and the cinematography. So, Sin City should have been wonderful.
And the first one was.
Oh, excuse me, not Sin City.
The Spirit.
The Spirit should have been wonderful.
And let's compare that for a second. That like the Spirit. Sin City was a great because I thought I went back and I was reading some reviews, and I specifically was reading Roger Ebert, who is if you know me, he is my personal hero. I love Roger.
I hate him.
I got the honor of meeting him once, and
I know. Yeah.
It was one top 5 moments of my life. I love movies because of Roger Ebert,
which is totally fair. And obviously, I respect him. I really
You're more
do.
Of a Gene Siskel?
I don't like either of them. Okay. Simple reason, they just remind me of how the movie business is a constantly evolving and changing and growing industry, especially with comic book movies. There's a big disconnect between people saying what the quality of a film is, like the audience saying it, versus the critics, and especially the Academy Awards. The Academy Awards, for me, is a very antiquated and old-fashioned style. But
Ebert, I know, tried to bridge that gap in being sort of the everyman, which is where they came up with the thumbs up, thumbs down, because they're like, an everyday person can identify with that.
Which is, again, respected, but you also have like a director like Martin Scorsese, who's like, comic book movies aren't film.
Right.
Like, of course
I get what he's saying.
I get what he's saying, but then he makes The Wolf of Wall Street, where he antiquates a film with how many times you can use a word, holds the record. But
Roger Ebert, I went back and read what he wrote about Sin City. and he actually gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And he thought it was amazing. He thought it was a great blending of style, mannerisms, and pulp storytelling.
And that's why The Spirit fails.
Exactly.
Because had they gone they had to pick their tone better.
Yeah.
Had they gone with a more serious detective style noir, I think it would have been really good. Had they instead, because basically they started off with a more serious tone, but then they had like the goofy effects of him running on the wires, like
getting a toilet over the head,
the swimming scenes, like
getting hit in the crotch with a giant Allen wrench.
Yeah. Him hanging from the clock or whatever, like outside.
With his pants falling.
down, and all the women are like, yeah.
Or like, there's a horrific melting of a cat.
Yeah. I can't show this movie to Melanie.
Actually, he was saying on the commentary that they actually had created a melting animatronic cat, and they said it was so horrific they couldn't use it.
I don't doubt it.
But this movie, it's all style. Like there's no character development. There's no storytelling. It's all just like Ebert in his review said that to call these characters cardboard is an insult to packing materials.
By the end of the movie, no character has made any progress, especially the Spirit. He's like, well, I want to be alive. Okay, but you still treat like all these characters like dirt.
Yeah, I mean, compare that with like Bruce Willis's character from Sin City and his complicated relationship with Jessica Alba, with Nancy, little Nancy Callahan. Like, that's storytelling and that's character development. Whereas with this, it's all just like...
The closest you get is Eva Mendez's character. She gets a little bit of development, but...
And it's so... All of it is so juvenile.
Yeah.
Like, her... Like, photocopying her butt. And the whole movie is, like, nothing but butts and boobs. Like, like... but all right, there is a certain level of butts and boobs that appeals to the older man, but there's that sort of 6th grade butts and boobs like that. This kind of
full disclosure. 2008, I graduated high school in 2005, so I was about 20 when this movie came out. I was at a good age for it. Eva Mendes was smoking hot at the time. I'm not just talking about her physically, but her career-wise. Like, this was around the time of Hitch and all
Fast and the
Furious.
Training Day.
Training Day. Like, she was big at the time. So she was probably the biggest name I knew at the time besides Sam Jackson. Even Scarlett Johansson hadn't hit her stride yet.
No, she had not. She was not Black Widow at the time.
No. So for me, like, this movie, I was at the right age for it. I think if I had been younger, I probably would have appreciated it even more.
Yeah.
Because I do have a soft spot for this movie. I can see it having a cult following and see, some of it is fantastic. Some of the cinematography is really good.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, if you're going to do a detective noir type movie, commit.
I would say that there's probably a good 10 minutes in here that is really just superb.
Solid.
But it just wavers between all these tones with those the clones and everything, and then there's a foot with a head jumping around on it for some reason.
And then they also get into like mystical god territory, and they always say Heracles, and I know that's the proper pronunciation and the traditional pronunciation, but Hercules, like
there's the golden fleece for
golden
some
fleece
reason.
of Jason, and like they don't know what they want to do, and it's also like I was never a big Spirit fan as a kid.
No.
So I don't know it that well, but
from what I read this week, though, it doesn't seem to match this.
No.
Well, he said this, Frank Miller. He said that I took the Spirit and smashed all of the expectations and made it my own thing. He said, and Will Eisner would have wanted me to do that, and I believe that.
Which I
really do.
I can respect and I can get behind. Especially for a character that's not as well known, it's easier.
Like, let's say, for example, Zack Snyder's Watchmen. Zack Snyder's Watchmen is almost a shot-for-shot remake of the comic, and it succeeds on many levels as a result of that, but it also suffers as a result.
I think the best example of going against the source material is actually Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. Tony Stark is a terrible character in the comics. Yeah. He's a jerk. He's an alcoholic. They brush over a lot of that stuff because Robert Downey Jr. charming as hell, man. Like, he comes onto the screen and he's electric. And in the first movie he's definitely a little bit more, and then in the second movie he's definitely like the cocky kind of borderline alcoholic. So they do understand that, and they do draw a lot from the comics, but he is a big deviation from how he was.
So because good filmmakers know how to like take something that's an existing property and make it into something new. Like, for example, I don't know if you've seen it, the new Watchmen series.
I have.
Okay, that is something that is like I think Damon Lindelof said it's a remix of Watchmen, I believe is the term he used.
It's a technical sequel to the comic book, but they also do their own thing because they do also, unfortunately, like.
And it's brilliant.
For some things, you have liberties that you can do, like Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is a great example where they're not held down by the films because it takes place after. Watchmen's another good example. They're not held. They're like, this is what happened in the story, so let's build from there.
Like I would also like throw in The Force Awakens. I know it, and not everyone is on board with me with this, but it is a really solid, exciting movie that
I really enjoy The Force Awakens.
The hits. It's kind of a remix of Star Wars.
It's episode 4.
It is. But it's kind of its own thing at the same time.
And it created characters that we really liked.
They just totally blew it in the next two. But.
Which is, The Last Jedi is a perfect example of giving that director too much leeway.
Yeah.
And going too far let's make our own thing then. So that's where Star Wars suffers. But
I get Frank Miller wanting to do his own thing with it, but he needed the reins of Robert Rodriguez to pull him in and say, you need to ground this in story.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you can make something that looks awesome, but if you don't have the story and the script behind it, even though you have a great cast, like a lot of actors will say, I don't agree. Mark Hamill is a great example of he has openly said, I didn't agree with anything about Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, but I was hired to do a job, and this was the script I was given, so I'm going to give it 100% because I'm a professional. Respect, Mark Hamill, I love you. But unfortunately, for a movie like this, where you have the great cast, like all these actors for the most part have had long successful careers since, a very, I don't want to say unique visual because Sin City and 300 had done it, but like. The movie posters are fantastic for this. The red ties and
so many great shots
and a lot of great things. But unfortunately,
that doesn't make a movie. Yeah,
you don't have the script, you don't have the director.
He tried to make a literal comic book because that's the problem. Sin City was a comic book come to life, and he tried to do that again, but he didn't do it as deftly. And so, like, for example, all of the like when he's saying, the city, it's my city and everything, and he's going off on the whole monologue, that's very comic bookish.
Oh, incredibly.
But it doesn't translate to film very well. You have to do something different with it. There are some things that work really, really well. It was very clear. I learned this a lot from Frank Miller. He loves New York City. Yeah. He loves Daredevil. It's clear that he is. He loves water towers. He loves the heights. He loves looking down from rooftops. So you see that love in this with the spirit, and that
where
makes sense.
They try and make the city a character, but it's only in the opening scene where it's like convenient things like the snow and this and that.
I will say some of those shots of him going on the city tops and running, even running on the wires, I was okay with that. But there's just, after that, there's nothing else. It's kind of empty. It's Sam Jackson chewing scenery.
Also,
as a Nazi for some reason.
Also, the spirit himself, the titular character, who should be the most likable. He was written for 12-year-old boys.
He's a low-rent Batman.
The thing about the spirit in this is they write him as if he is just perfect. He's good looking.
Gets all the girls.
And the thing that bothers me about him getting all the girls is he doesn't try. He just does. And like all these girls, women fawn over the spirit. Like even when like, brush your teeth, kids. Ting. That's the only time you see his personality. But Rob and I, we were talking off air about some of the things about this movie, and they have a lot of great potential themes that they squander. Like Denny Colt and Sans Serif, they're both young teenagers in love. Sans Serif's dad's a cop. He dies on the job, and she goes on television. She's like, I hate cops. And Denny's, becomes the very thing that she now hates. Like, there's some good stuff there. Some great parallels in storytelling.
But they do nothing with it.
Nothing.
It's thematically void.
Like Denny Colt is a young cop who dies in the line of duty, becomes immortal, because of the octopus experiments. But like, and then he comes back, well, I got to protect this city no matter what the cost. Like, I get it. I understand, but like this is, Rob, you're an English teacher, correct?
So that's what it says on my paycheck.
Yeah, sometimes. But this is storytelling 101, but like you're not at 101 yet. You're still working your way to it.
This is
I like this thing, I like this thing, I like this thing. Now let's put it right with this guy.
You need to have a narrative thread that ties it all together. You need to have character arcs.
There's no arcs. There's no progression. None of the characters are at a better spot at the end, with the exception of Sans Serif, like I mentioned.
But it is such a bonkers movie. At no given point, like I will tell you that at no point was I ever bored.
Because you're like, what's happening next?
What is this? Why is he doing that? What is going on?
So if I just speak French when I'm about to be tortured,
I still don't know what he said. I watched it a few times.
Yeah. The captions don't appear on this one because Frank Miller doesn't believe in reading. No. But he'll write a comic book. Yeah, I know.
And I got to go back to the Nazi stuff. Why? What was the point? Why is there a giant picture of Hitler behind them and they're dressed as Nazis? I don't understand.
Because he's evil.
I don't get it.
What's the easiest way to show how evil somebody is? Nazis.
I hate those guys.
It's funny. Melanie and I are watching Supernatural, and we're on season 11.
Okay.
And they just did another episode with the Thule Society and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And literally just like the Nazis appear on screen. She's like, oh, Nazis, they're evil. They're the bad guys. I'm like, what? Like, Nazis, and never to downplay the severity of what had happened during World War II in that scenario. We'll never, be of that mindset. But Nazis have become an evil trope, a very easy evil trope. You throw in a Nazi, with the exception of Jojo Rabbit, where it's
or Life is Beautiful.
Yep, where it's used in the proper way in a narrative format. Unfortunately, this movie is just like, it'd be really interesting right now during this villain monologue. Let's make them Nazi. They were all just. Did you ever see is it called The Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah, with Hemsworth. Yeah.
Yes, The Cabin in the Woods, where there's this great scene where that's a great movie too.
Oh,
like that movie.
I got to show Lauren that one.
That movie is like, because the trailers made it seem like one movie and then it turned. But there's a scene where they're at the dark, like the board.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, so we got zombies and like. That's what this movie was. It was a board of ideas, and they were throwing darts.
Yeah.
Hoping, like, all right, so we got neo-noir. Oh, okay. And Nazi bad guys.
Supernatural death. And...
let's throw some Greek mythology. And this movie is just a hodgepodge of the weirdest, like... But at the same time, it was what was popular at the time.
Was it? What was it, though?
Batman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Comic book movies, Sin City /300 style of visuals, like beautiful women who really had no character development.
No. Which I might add in the commentary, Frank Miller keeps talking about how strong these women are. I don't know what he thinks strong women are. Well, actually, I do know what he thinks they are. That's just not what they actually are.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about really quick. I'm gonna pull. I want to get her character name right because it's Sarah Paulson's character,
right?
Oh, as Ellen Dolan, and she is just battered. She is a victim of the spirit in this movie, where he plays her, and like he was supposed to be in love and like engaged to her before he died. Like that was supposed to be his one true love.
He said something about her in the commentary. He said, "I'd never seen." Feminine. What was it? Feminine. Shoot, just gonna come to me. Go ahead. Devotion.
There it is.
I've never seen feminine devotion before, and strong as I did in Sarah Paulson, and I wanted to keep that. And I'm like, I don't think that's what you think it is.
Oh God, like she's a battered housewife in this, and it's hard. There are certain parts of this movie that are hard to watch, and like. He doesn't learn from this. Like, yeah, he like, Sand kisses him at the end, and they're like, all right, we're parting ways. This isn't going to work out. And he goes back to Ellen, and she's like, well, I saw this. And he's like, you're still my number one, And then Morgenstern's like, sir, boobies.
Can you explain to me a little bit about that? The character of the other policeman. What's her name?
Morgenstern?
Yeah. What
Pretty
what
lady.
planet is she acting on?
Pretty lady. She is, the technical term in the policing world is called a Blue Falcon.
Oh, this is new to me. All right.
Blue Falcon is somebody. There are two types of Blue Falcons. There are
Falcon with a V.
No, Falcon.
Falcon,
like the bird.
Oh, okay.
I just enunciated poorly. There's the ones that do everything. Okay. Give me every single job. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it well. Like 900 tickets at a single traffic stop kind of people. And then there's the Blue Falcons that will do only the things that get them attention and then do nothing else.
Okay.
So she's a headstrong rookie, and I've seen it and I've experienced it. She's a real police trope, which is
okay, but
just overdone completely. She is like I get her in the beginning where she's like, I'm a new police officer, and I want to make my mark. I want to do well. And the spirit in this is a celebrity too. Right. He's like a local celebrity where, he's like telling the kids, brush your teeth, save this cat out of this tree. Like, and for the ladies, whatever.
Go make me a sandwich.
Pretty much.
That's his attitude in this.
And oh my God, he is a dated concept.
Oh. And Frank Miller, and the thing is, from what I gathered from all the things that I watched, all the specials, Frank Miller is that dated mentality.
Yes, Frank Miller is very, like, as much as I love The Dark Knight Rises, It is a fantastic comic. It's dated. And The Dark Knight Rises Part 2 is terrible. Like,
oh, I didn't read that one.
Sleeping dogs lie, my friend. Sometimes you just gotta let them. But yeah, this movie, I have such a love-hate with it because there is so much potential for good. There is some great stuff in it.
I'm just rewatching some of the trailers as you're saying this, and I'm looking at some of these great things. Let's not forget that at one point Sam Jackson is dressed as a doctor doing weird experiments.
Just as an anime character.
As an anime character doing samurai moves.
Doing
the Nazi thing. He's dressed as a cowboy or something at one point.
Like a pimp, almost.
Yeah. And he's got those 8... He looks like he has runny mascara on his face, but if you count them, it's 8.
8 of them, yeah. He's got 8 of everything. Yeah. Oh, God.
And I want to point out, he keeps making the references to eggs.
Oh, yeah.
You know what that is?
No.
Frank Miller doesn't either. Frank Miller says in the commentary, he's like, oh, if you're looking for an explanation about why he keeps talking about the eggs, he says, I don't have one.
Quirks.
You wrote this.
Quirks. I just wanted quirks. Yeah. I got nothing else. Like, I'm just burnt out on this movie now.
It's so, like, it's such a curio piece, though. Like, I can't turn away. That's why it's brilliant in how bad it is.
It's a car wreck. You just can't help but look. But Star City rating for The Spirit. I know this is gonna be rough.
Yeah.
I'll go first. I give this movie, for pure watchability, a 3.
Okay.
For pure moviness, a 2. I think if you're a comic book fan, this is a perfect example. This is a historical movie. In the way that like I said before, this was the movie right before the Renaissance. This was when comic book movies didn't know what they were or what they were supposed to be. This movie is it's a little bit of everything, and it still doesn't work. It is a pure example of you can have the best cast. You can have a great style of storytelling. You can have a big name director, but if he sucks, and if your script sucks, no matter how hard you try and act and ham up and chew the scenery and have great action set pieces, you're going to end up with a toilet around Danny Colt. Like, I'm sorry, that was a metaphor. The Spirit is crap.
Yeah.
But I still, if you're a comic book fan, and obviously if you're listening to us, you probably are, this is a movie that you need to watch at some point in your life. And it brings me so much joy that Rob said it himself. Like, I thought I never knew something was missing until I saw this movie, to paraphrase. But yeah, for pure watchability and historical value, I give it a 3. As a movie, it is a 2, and that is being generous. Rob?
I spent so much time reading other reviews too about this, and just what is most striking about The Spirit is how little pleasure it affords in spite of its efforts to be sly, sexy, heartfelt, and clever all at once. They're just... Miller shoots it, and this is another quote, Miller shoots it in the inky graphic style of Sin City, but he clearly hasn't a clue how to stage a scene or shoot it, and he singly fails to animate his characters. Every once in a while, a genuine turkey escapes the coop, bereft of charm or wit, utterly lacking in technical prowess. The Spirit is such a film. I have to rate this. This is like a 1.5. This is low. Because it is so wrong on so many levels. It is. I love the fact. Well, first of all, what saves it from being any lower than that, I will say, is Scarlett Johansson, for one, because I think she's actually really, really funny, as I said. Some of the looks are, like, I love the red tie and the black background and the inky.
It pops.
It does, definitely. Yeah. It's like, wow, look at that image.
It's like Dwight's red shoes in Sin City. Dwight has his red shoes and the red car.
Yeah, this one, he's got his Converse. I can't. I have to add that whenever I saw, what's the character's name? I mean, the actor name who plays Denny Holt? Gabriel
Macht.
I so many times felt like I was watching Stephen Colbert.
A little bit.
Like he has that same sort of chin and vibe to it. So I felt like I was watching Stephen Colbert, action hero. It is just so dreadful. But I also want to rate it for like 3.5, maybe even 4 stars, because I think this is something everyone has to see at some point in their life, because it's such a curio piece. You will not be bored. Like I told you, the first time I watched it, my jaw was on the floor. There's no
downtime in this movie. It's very like,
and it's there. Like, even if I didn't know what was going on or what was happening, at least I wasn't bored. At least I wasn't doing something else. At least I was engaged. Even if it was with total outrage and frustration, I was engaged. So I do want to still give it like almost a 4
for watchability.
Yeah, but wow, as a movie, 1.5 easily. It's just terrible. And it's. I long for the day when this is a bigger cult movie. I don't know why it's not a bigger cult movie, because there's so many, like, Sam Jackson pulls out the biggest guns you've ever seen and starts firing at helicopters
8 of them.
At one point. No, this is after the 8.
No, he has 8 guns.
He has 8 guns?
8 guns.
Okay. Or that you've got characters named Sans Serif. I couldn't figure out the first time I watched it that was her actual name. Actually, for a while, I thought Sans Serif
was one word.
I thought it was like an exclamation, like, "Oh, Sans Serif," like. I didn't know that was her name, but that's apparently comic accurate. Mm-hmm. But the costumes, or lack thereof, sometimes are just like, it's a juvenile dream and an adult nightmare.
I really wish, speaking of the costumes, that as much as I like the Spirit's look in this, I really wish they had done the white lenses.
Okay.
Because they don't do the black face paint like traditional superhero movies do, especially with domino masks. Like, Batman's very famous for it. If you watch Batman Returns, at the very end, when right before he rips off his mask, it transitions to him not having the black eyeshadow on.
Okay.
And it's blatant.
Yeah, it is.
I'm really glad Pattinson in the new trailer, they actually show him with it on. Like, it's realistic. In this, I would have really liked if they had done the white lenses in his mask, because I'm happily married. Rob, you're happily married.
Yeah, that's what my wife tells me.
If I walked into the house with a suit on and a fedora and a domino mask, my wife would be like, "What are you doing, husband?"
She wouldn't scream stranger danger.
Yeah. What are you doing, husband, who I'm married to, who's weird and does podcasts in the basement? Like,
it's not a great disguise.
This movie is the American Pie of superhero movies. It's made for teenage boys with teenage boys in mind, because at that time, that's who comic book fans were. We were nerds who couldn't get women and couldn't do this, and we weren't physically fit. Like, that was the stereotypical. This is our audience. For the record, we are down in my basement recording podcasts. But
Frank Miller has I won't repeat it here, but he's got a like about a minute long monologue talking about how sexy it is being an inker, in that your pen traces like it. He compares the pen to a hands and how they get to caress certain things, and I'm like, oh, it was creepy.
Look at how female comic book characters have been drawn in years past, like,
which I might add, I was very excited to see. Did you see what's her name, Natalie Portman's outfit for?
I try not to look.
Oh,
I don't
she's
look.
badass.
Yeah, she was in the comics too.
Yeah.
Like, I from what I was told, it is very much
warrior-esque,
comic accurate. Yeah. Which in more recent years, female characters, especially like Wonder Woman, got long sleeves in the New 52. Like things like that, you know, it's not the male fantasy anymore.
No, those are empowered women where it's, you know, they're not dressing for men to ogle, to undress them with their eyes.
Yeah.
They're there because they're strong women with voices and opinions and personalities.
You can also still pay homage to that stuff. Like Supergirl did a great job in their first episode, where at one point, like, she's trying on different costumes and like how they work, and at one point she does come out with like the bare midriff, and she's very uncomfortable. She's like, why would I wear this? This doesn't make sense. You can, like, that's your homage. And then she gets a practical suit where she's got leggings and she's got the skirt, but like, and then she eventually gets the whole suit. Like that's a fair homage, like to kind of poke fun at it. Supernatural, famous for poking fun at their fans. Like, we can take it. We're okay. Yeah. I don't like, this movie is just, it is a great cultural study of not only movies but comic book movies especially, and I highly recommend. If you have not seen The Spirit,
no, I challenge you to see this.
Yes, but I think that's gonna wrap us up. Any final thoughts that you want to share, or we kind of
go
hit it
see
off?
The Spirit and watch it. Be prepared to just be awed and disgusted and outraged all at once.
So we're looking at my previous dating life. Oh my God. But so that's going to wrap us up for tonight. We are going to be back, like I said, for our Rated R superhero topic next week. Don't forget, if you guys want to show some love and support to the show, you can find us at our website, themisfitfaction.com. Every Monday, you'll find brand new content. It always gets uploaded both to that and to our Facebook pages, which is the Multiverse Fan Cast and the Misfit Faction. You can also find our Twitter, which is Misfit Faction, our Instagram, which is the Misfit Faction. Oh, no, Instagram is also Misfit. Oh, I don't even know. Look it up. Let me know what it is. And then our YouTube channel, which is the Misfit Faction Media Network. Every like, comment, download, subscribe, share, it really makes a big difference with us. Podcasts are an ever-changing and ever-evolving medium. They've only become more and more popular. If you guys have an Apple product, you have Apple Podcasts. Anytime you guys leave us a review, whether it's a star review or just something nice to say about us, or even constructive criticism, we do enjoy it. We do learn from it. So anything that you guys want to do, even sharing it with your friends who you think might enjoy listening to a couple of guys just talking about things that you're into. We're also, at some point, we do want to have guests on the show, and we want to involve the fans a little bit more. So any feedback, whether it's Fan Feedback Friday, which is every Friday on Facebook, or just in general, we love it, we enjoy it, we learn from it, and we want to talk to you guys.
Sorry, we're not tackling your Fan Feedback Friday today because it's a day early for us when we're recording.
Yes,
we couldn't get together on Friday.
So speaking of which, we are recording on today's Thursday, the 16th or the 17th. Happy early Father's Day to all of our dads out there, especially Rob, who is not with his kid right now.
Timmy's playing Fortnite, I think.
But when this comes out, it will be Monday. Happy Father's Day to all you guys. We will have some sort of nice post for all of our hardworking dads. And I think that pretty much wraps us up. And thank you guys for dealing with us with no Ronnie.
No.
We do miss him.
Ronnie, come back.
Ronnie, come. I Snapchatted him already that we missed him. But that's going to wrap us up tonight. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Rob.
And we'll be back in a flash.
And Smorgasbord.